Aloha and welcome to Rose Temple, the podcast, where we explore the deeper work behind our Hawaii location and online platform. I invite you to join me as we return home to your body's feminine wisdom. Aloha, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of Rose Temple, the podcast. So today I am continuing this conversation, which I'm so lit up about, with the School of Feminine Initiatory Arts. And I think the first thing that comes to mind when I introduce this school is the actual concept of initiatory arts. So that's what we're exploring today. What exactly does that mean, and how is that different perhaps from other spaces that you have maybe seen or felt into? And of course, this school is really built on my experience with the feminine and my trajectory, my journey with her through the years. So what are the initiatory arts? When it comes to the feminine, the original form of passing on the wisdom was to have lineages that held this information, to have groups of women and sometimes even brotherhoods to support the holding of these experiences, the holding of this information, and then the passing on and the preservation of this information. And that in itself is super important because there's this essence of wisdom that is inherent in life that I do believe is being lost through time. And that has been written about for many decades by many people, many mystics, many souls that have walked the path of love, the path of magic, true, genuine magic. And I'll be talking about what that means in future episodes. But basically, there is this path of embodied wisdom. And when it comes to initiations of the feminine, these initiations take time. And oftentimes, what happens is that we are walking the path of the feminine. And we know that because we are called to go deeper into our heart space. We are called to go deeper into womb wisdom. We are called to explore sacred union, sacred sexuality, divine healing, DNA activation, the magical arts. Like, these are all different journeys of the feminine. But what happens is that we don't really have a structure to hold us in that process. So we kind of just do it intuitively, which is fine. I mean, it's what we have had to do as a humanity because we have lost the original temples. We have lost the original mystery schools. And the whole purpose of these structured containers was to have the elders support us in witnessing the process, in guiding us, in creating enough freedom for us to experience it on our own, and yet to bring us back to center and allow us to stand strong, especially in the peak moments of initiation. And so those peak moments of initiation are really life-turning, pivot moments of life where we are really put to the test. So the way that I see it, there's these 4 journeys that you will be called to move through in the feminine path. And everything always spirals in the feminine path. So a lot of times it is not linear, even though I will present it to you in a linear fashion. You may jump from one to the other, but ultimately when you complete one cycle of these 4 phases, you will inevitably come back around and begin again in another part of your life with the same 4 phases. So let's make it super practical. Initiation often begins with some kind of healing. So healing is, let's say, phase 1. But again, I really don't want you to make this linear because you might not start there. But let's just call it, for practical sake, the healing phase. Now, healing can mean that you witness a part of you that you are just over, or you are done with, or you are ready to transmute and alchemize, or you realize that this part of you no longer serves this next part of you that you want to become, or that you are stepping toward, right? That's the evolutionary part of our species. We are constantly evolving. We are never the person that we were 5 years ago or 10 years ago. And it's that process of evolution that we are actually, quote unquote, healing. So part 1 is healing. And the way that I see it in the energy world is you're rewriting a part of your energy field. You're rewriting a blueprint, a template that is a part of your soul. And if you could imagine like a puzzle piece, let's just pretend you have 500 puzzle pieces in your body, in your energy field. One of those pieces is your relationship to your body, as an example. And so right now, perhaps you are called to clean up that template and alchemize and rewrite that template. And so what does that look like? That means you are healing your relationship to your body. And that can be a million ways, right? So maybe it's nutrition, maybe it's movement, maybe it's strengthening, maybe it's finding stillness. Like there are so many ways to rewrite that one template of connection to your body. That's why we work so much with embodiment and movement and continuously having a practice to come back to and strengthen the body and move it and exercise it. So coming back, I always go on tangents, but so let's come back to that template. That's what I mean by healing. You're rewriting one part of your essence of your spirit. So once you've rewritten it, or you are in the process of rewriting it, now there is this process of embodiment. And the embodiment is, okay, I am rewriting my connection to my body. Let's stick to that same example. And this particular template, I'm working with nutrition. And specifically around nutrition, because there's many kinds of nutrition. You have energetic, you have emotional. Let's just talking about specifically food and digestion. So now I'm rewriting the template that is my connection to food and digestive health. So now I have to embody that. And this is where a lot of times in our feminine path, it might kind of go array because contrary to mystery schools and initiatory paths, what we do at this moment in time is we take what we have heard and sort of this. We live in an age where there's a lot of repetitive things that come into our field. So something as, well, if you're in your feminine, you're in your flow. That's like a very typical thing that's considered to be in feminine, but that's actually not true. That is not true. And we go so deep into that within the school and within all the courses, but let's keep it practical. So now it's time to embody it. And perhaps you're thinking, well, I'm in flow, so I'm just going to eat what's in flow. Well, that's not embodiment. That's not going to help you rewrite that template. So we have to do, and we have to apply discernment and realize what does it look like for me to embody this new template? What does it look like for me to honor my body and my digestive system by the choices that I make to put things in my body? That's part 2. I'm really drawing this out for you, so you get like, you're getting a whole explanation. So first you have the healing call, like you're called to change a template within your essence. And then you have the embodiment part, which again, a lot of times when we're outside of that structural temple or initiation lineage, it can be a little difficult to embody. And I can say that because this has been my experience in the past. This is why I've been called to move through these initiatory paths and see things from a new perspective. So you have the healing and then you have the embodiment. Now, once you have embodied or are in the process of embodying this new template, so let's just say you've successfully embodied or are in the process of successfully embodying this new template, then there is an expansion in your field. You can now hold space for something new to occur. That is super hyper important. That's super hyper duper important. Why? When we can expand into holding a new template, we're not doing it just for ourselves. And I think a lot of you know this. We're doing this for future generations. We're doing this for past generations. We're doing this for those of us around us, because many of us are here to activate and awaken the people and the families and the communities that are around us. So this is not just about you. And this is why I think it's so deep in my body, and it feels so good to be sharing this kind of stuff, because it's not just you listening to this thing right now, receiving it. It's the cells that are then transmitting this information as you're integrating it and sharing it with everyone around you. So then we talk about this space of expansion. So now you're in the space of expansion. You're holding space for something new to occur. And this is when the next step is initiation. So do you see how the initiation is the last thing to actually happen, quote unquote, in linear terms? Sometimes it's actually the first thing that can happen. And that, if that's the case, then it could be a really abrupt quantum leap or shift in your life. And that's happened to me many times. That's when the feminine is really yelling at you and you better pay attention. But let's just say, like, now there's this aspect of initiation. And the aspect of initiation, again, is that time where it is so delicate. You're walking such a fine line, because initiation in itself asks you to walk through the fire of alchemy, to walk through the needle of the heart. And again, I feel like this is the place where our human collective is in most need of structure and most need of guidance, because we've gone through the call of the healing. We are called to embody. We are now expanded and holding more. And now this moment of initiation comes. And so the first thing that the human mind wants to do or go to is, oh, I can just do what I feel is in flow or intuitively in line with what I've done in the past. And that goes against the whole purpose of initiation. Initiation is the test, if you will. And the initiation doesn't just happen once. Again, it just depends on what part of the feminine path you're walking, what work you're doing. Sometimes the initiation and the test will happen many, many, many times. You will be tested many times. And I want to share this with you more than anything so that you are aware of this process within your life, within different templates of your life, within different aspects of your journey, because this is not something that you live once. This is a spiral that you continuously live over and over again as you're moving through the different archetypes. So if you've checked out the website, School of Feminine Initiatory Arts, you might have seen that we work with 4 different archetypes. And those archetypes are the seductress, the light bearer, the magician, and the creatrix. And I want to be super clear that these archetypes are not representative of what you might have heard outside of these temple walls, let's call it. It's a whole new way of refining and defining what is the seductress, what is the magician, so on and so forth. And as you spiral through those archetypes and you go deeper into each one every time, you're going to go through this process of healing, embodiment, expansion, initiation. And the more I move through all of this, the more I realize how important it is for us to be able to articulate this process and witness it and see it. And then also be very honest about what support you need in each process, in each journey, in each archetype, because there's only so much that we can do on our own. There's only so far that we can go within our own means. The whole point of being here at this time is that we're doing this together. The work is individual. The work is you. Only you know what you do behind closed doors, quote unquote, or when you go to bed. You go to bed for yourself, by yourself, with yourself. But you can't do it alone. So it's this, I've been working so much lately with this conundrum of this and that. Being able to see both sides, witness both sides, acknowledge and give value to both sides of the story. So yes, again, this is your job, your work at this time, your soul homework, play work. And are you requiring support? Are you requiring a midwife? Are you requiring a structure to hold you and see you through these moments, these peak initiatory times of your life? I know that I have had more than a handful of times in my journey with the feminine where I really required that. And yet I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't know that initiation was a real thing, that in the past, lineages held you through it, guided you through it, supported you in the integration of that initiation, supported you in the tests that life will inevitably bring to you. And the deeper you move into the path, the more you say yes, the deeper the initiations will be. And there's a purpose to that. There's a beauty to that. So I hope this has sparked some kind of awareness in your own journey. And perhaps you can think of an aspect of your life. Perhaps you are resonating with a certain archetype in those 4 archetypes of the seductress, the light bearer, the magician, and the creatrix. And perhaps you're feeling like you're specifically in a place of, I'm being called to heal, or I'm being called to embody, ground this new template, or I'm being called to expand because I have embodied it and now I'm ready to hold something new for that. Or maybe now I feel like I'm in this place of initiation where it's hard to articulate and it's kind of becoming difficult, or there are roadblocks, quote unquote. There are challenges presenting to me. And a lot of times in that point of initiation, it's like, but I thought I was doing the right thing. Yes, this is why the initiation is coming, because you're doing the right thing. But the question is, what will happen when you're in that point of initiation, in that moment or moments of initiation. And this is why the School of Feminine Initiatory Arts has been birthed, to guide you in that process of feminine initiations that have been practiced for centuries in the what I call divine feminine healing arts. For those of us that are called to bring in something new, healing work, new modalities, working with our family, working with children, working with arts, working and moving through the world in a new way that perhaps our lineages haven't necessarily done. And that was the point a lot of times with these feminine lineages, to preserve the wisdom and to guide the souls that are specifically coming in for this kind of work, to do something new, to create ripples of evolutionary change in consciousness. And that can be from the way that you speak to your children, to the way that you run your business, or the way that you work with a client, or the way that you make love to your partner. And this is something too, like I'm going to be speaking on it more. I'm just so excited because these archetypes, I always felt in the past that, speaking of the feminine, it's like, well, okay, but we're in this box, right? Like the feminine is the feminine, and this is what the feminine is, and can we define her? And so working with these different archetypes, I realized, wow, all of these different paths that I've been walking, they're all different initiatory paths of the feminine. So now having this perspective, it's so liberating and it's so expansive, because you can be in so many different places and still be doing the good work of the divine feminine. So if you haven't checked out the webpage, I highly recommend you do that. Go to moorosetemple.com. Check out the new little facelift that, and I wouldn't even say little because I've been working on this a lot. So the facelift that I've just put that website through, and click on Sophia School of Feminine Initiatory Arts, and take the quiz. Take the quiz to find out what archetype is being called to your essence right now. What are you being called to embody and dive deeper into? And it's a guide. You can tune into that quiz and see what calls you. And then there are options. There are options to explore, and there's so many new things and new creations coming along the way. So stay tuned, my loves, and we will speak soon. Until next time. Mwah. Mahalo for being here with me today. And as usual, if you'd like to learn more about what we do at our Hawaii location or online, explore the courses, the mentorship, or the events, go to www.moorosetemple.com. See you soon.